Redevelopment Commission meeting for Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. And we do have a quorum that has been determined. And first on the agenda, Joe, do you need to read a statement for those attending virtually?
Yes, I do. The public is invited to attend this meeting of the Redevelopment Commission. The RDC may impose reasonable restrictions on the number of attendees to control audience density in consideration with the existing COVID-19 national emergency. The public may participate remotely by dialing 463-777-8704 and entering the PIN 402065. If you would like to provide comments remotely, please email them to jmurphy@cityoflawrence.org. We will now do a roll call for commissioners present. Jerry Clifford.
Here.
Cheryl Sullivan. Here. Ray Rohana. Here. Thank you. Melissa Swindell. Here. David Blunt.
Here.
And Richard Freese. There we go.
All right, I am going to assume that everyone has had a chance to review and reread the minutes from October 6th from our special meeting. And if everyone has read those, can I have a motion to approve those minutes from the October 6th special meeting? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jerry.
This is Ashley. I just noticed a little typo on the last sentence. It looks like a zero around the approval of minutes on the last sentence. Not a big deal.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Thank you. That must have been it's a typo. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt. You can proceed with your roll call vote.
Oh, that's fine. All right, we had a motion by Cheryl Sullivan, a second by Jerry Clifford. We'll now do a roll call vote for approval of those minutes. David Blunt.
Approve.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Ray Rohana.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Thank you.
I would also assume that everyone has seen the claims and purchase orders for payment. I don't think it's much different, if any at all, of last month's meeting. But if everyone has had a chance to review, can I have a motion to approve?
Hearing no questions, I would make a motion to approve them.
Do I have a second?
We had a second by Ray. We had a motion by Mr. Clifford, second by Mr. Rohana. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Blunt.
Approve.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Ray Rohana. Melissa Swindell. Thank you.
We have a fairly short agenda today. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Dan to cover our old business and our new business.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be with you, Commissioners. Appreciate your support and all your efforts. As far as new business, I'd like to make a few requests for consideration of the Commissioners. Given that Thanksgiving is a couple days before the 24th and some of our Commissioners may have travel plans and other things, I would appreciate if we would give consideration to moving our November 24th to Thursday, November the 19th at 4 p.m. And if that meets with everybody's approval, I was wondering if we might have a short executive session for 3:30 that same day, so we knock everything out off in one period of time. So I would appreciate that consideration. The first item I have.
I'm checking my calendar.
Ashley, you are available on the 19th, correct, with no complications?
Correct, I am.
I want to make sure that I am also.
I am.
Is anybody opposed to that that's attending virtually? Okay, everybody's,
Available that day as well.
okay.
Same here.
I don't know whether you need a motion to do that or not publicly, Ashley, but, or can we just say we're going to move it?
Well,
We have to advertise.
We'll have to,
there's a notification.
We know we have to do that. I just didn't know whether we had to have a formal vote to do that or not.
Great.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that very well, but did you ask about whether a vote was needed? You don't need to take a vote. We'll just need to do a special a meeting notice
Yep.
for both the executive session and the meeting.
There you go. Okay.
That'd be great. And at that particular meeting, you'll get a chance to meet the proposed new council, Bruce Donaldson, that day as well. Then on the sort of the same topic, I'm running into conflicts that are making my work more difficult for you because it may become less frequent, but at least right now, and I think there's going to be times in the future when I have to consult the council for action before we can do action. Right now, the way it's set up, we meet with the council the first Monday of every month, and then it's the last week of the month before I get to see you. I would really appreciate it if we could, and the other thing is I'm trying to look at ways to save both you and the city money. And right now I am making some special trips in here on Tuesdays to attend these meetings when I wouldn't normally be here. I wondered if for 2021, if this body would consider moving our Redevelopment Commission meetings to Thursdays and meet the second Thursday of every month instead of the last Thursday of every month. That would allow me to tie closer to the council. I'm always here on Thursdays. It would probably eliminate a few bills for the city during the year for my services, my travel. If that meets with everybody's approval, I would like to suggest that for the 2020 calendar year, we move to the second Thursday of every month at 4 o'clock.
Joe, do you know if the facility is available?
it is.
It is?
Yes.
That's fine with me.
Does
And I
anyone?
would just add, you don't necessarily have to vote on that tonight. If you want to look at your calendars and think about that, that's something Joe can put on the agenda and actually put the dates on because normally what you do at the end of each year, you approve the meeting dates for the following year, and then Joe will post those.
That's
on
great.
the
I just
city
wanted to make
website.
everybody aware plenty ahead of time of what I was thinking, be sure it was okay with everyone.
Right, so that's what I was proposing. If that's something, then Joe can bring back in the November meeting for you to actually vote on and approve for the 2021 calendar.
All right.
Perfect.
Jason David has kind of asked me to give you a quick and dirty recap of some of the things that are going on, some of the new things we're looking at. I'll try to make it brief. I just emailed to you all and presented the commissioners that are present. Jason did send me a financial snapshot of where we are a few minutes ago. It really hasn't changed from last month, but you should have all just received the forward of that from me in your email. Mr. Fiji, Joe and I had the pleasure of meeting with your wife today. Brenda, really enjoyed that. What a beautiful lady inside and out. You're a lucky guy.
Thank you. I agree completely. I would report on her feedback to you, Dan, but I haven't seen her since she met with you. So I'll have to save that for next meeting.
Well, Brenda came to the city asking if we would be willing as an RDC and as a city to consider participation by IU Health and Eskenazi. Indiana University and Eskenazi relative to looking at sustainable things that we may be able to incorporate in our development in the future, the way we're looking at our city. And of course, our answer was we'd be glad to receive any proposal that might bring a good outside view and some ideas and a possibility for some form of funding to help us explore those sorts of things. So I expect to hear back from her in the near future with some form of proposal. That's one of the new things. Unfortunately, I'm not able to disclose it to this body publicly yet, but we do have a very serious suitor of the former Tyco building at Oak Landon that would look at purchasing that building, doing a couple $100,000 of renovation to it, probably $5 million or so of equipment investment in it, investment purchase total of the property. We should have more to report on that in a month or so. But we did have that meeting last week with that company. Looking at current things that we're working at, I think we've all agreed there probably won't be any more reports on the 8102, 8150 former car wash pursuit. I've notified them that we're not moving forward. All of you are aware that Monarch sold, and you all know that we agreed to pay for an appraisal if they had to pay for a survey, so we could potentially work out an agreement for the RDC to help market that beautiful piece of property out in front of their building. Well, I did receive the survey today from Phil Terry, along with a note that they sold the property with the building, and he has forwarded my contact information to hopefully continue that dialogue with the new owners, but that hasn't occurred yet. Just to let you know that's transpired. Joe did host the Hoosier Environmental Council workshop. There weren't very many people attended the solar energy workshop, but we were part of that and did host that. Our website, I got a chance to look at it the other day. I'm going to ask Joe to put on our agenda for next month the opportunity for you to see the new website. If it's not fully live, I think it could very possible it could be live by that time next month, but nonetheless, website's coming along beautifully. I think you'll be very impressed with what it looks like. Should have it ready pretty soon. Joe and I and the mayor, some others, continue to work on the 42nd Post Road area with the gated properties Dan Penn family. If you go by there, notice that to the mansard roofs, they've done approximately $2 million in upgrades to those roofs. They've really cleaned out the tenants and done away with some of the police traffic that was necessary in that area, and they continue to work towards building and designing building, getting our approval of a large, very nice looking storage unit to go on that corner there at 42nd Post next to Mason Gardens. I think that would be a nice addition to the area and support what they already have in place. Many of you followed the Shadeland Avenue project we've all worked on for so long. Credits to Ashley. She discovered an error in the way that the title had not been transferred, and it showed up as we received the IDEM letter of comfort. Through her help, the Utilities Board did approve the sale that, transfer that to the title to the city, to the Redevelopment Commission. So Ashley will be preparing, I think for our next meeting, she'll have for you the offer letter that we want, or the solicitation to offer to sell the property. Ashley should have that ready, I think, for your approval at our next meeting. Is that correct, Ashley?
Possibly. That's the goal, depending on how long it takes to get the environmental restrictive covenant approved and back. So
thank you. Yeah, we do have to record that. So I have given Ashley the minimum offer terms and the clawback terms for that particular property. Freegee spoke to Mike Webster yesterday. They're proceeding with their redesign. You all may see some materials actually stored on that site in the next few weeks. Browning's actually asked permission for the building they're building behind Menards to use those 4 lots for a laydown area for some of their materials, and we've agreed to do that since they're doing Freegee's project anyway. Probably the biggest news for you all is the 7608, 7612 Pendleton Pike. That whole block there, except for where the new bank's being developed, where Papa's was, all the way back to Cellar Street. That whole block will become a new racetrack fuel and convenience store, a beautiful facility for that type of operation. That group's out of the south, and they shared with us that they're going to build 40 of these types of stores in the Indiana, Marion County area over the next few years, and we're going to be the first one. So we had a meeting with all the city department heads. That's a really nice project for that location. Represents $6 or $8 million in investment right out of the gate. Let's see, last week, another pretty big development finally cleared a hurdle. The FHRA board approved the sale of Parcel J East to Sandy Veritas for the development of their headquarters building and a new Starbucks on the Fort Harrison site. So that's moving forward. I assume that's in full negotiation at this point. We did get back, Ashley confirmed to me that I sent this to you, would you please? Did I send you the con letter accepting our terms?
yes, you did.
Okay, I thought I had. Con did accept our terms after much discussion. They had concerns over my clawbacks, but in the end they agreed to them. So Ashley is working to prepare that for the title, get that to the title company and get that ready to close. 8101 Harrison Drive, we're waiting for a proposal from Banning Engineering to survey that whole section, because that's, if I can remind you, that's where all the old right-of-way existed for the road and the alleyway that we need to vacate so that we can convey that parcel to Mr. Barnett, to Chris right here in front of us, and for the CDC to turn that into a Habitat for Humanity project. That's the easiest way to get those title descriptions cleaned up, and we're expecting that hopefully to be done by the end of the year. I think I sent all of you my report. If you read through it, you've seen about everything else that's in here. I did get a call from Harrison Ford asking for me to meet with them in the next couple of weeks. I think they're getting ready to move forward with their expansion project, and I'm sure they want a few matters of assistance with that. We have a pretty critical meeting this Thursday set up with Meyer Plastics and their attorney to try to move forward with putting the environmental restrictive covenant issue to bed that we've been working on for some time. And then the Monday night, the last big thing, I guess, to consider, well, two things to consider. One is pretty important. One of the things I believe we're really short on this community is not having a business incubator. Anderson has one in Flagship. They have a very successful one in Fishers. One of the things that we're starting to look at is whether we could use the space upstairs in this building, at least for the next couple of years, where the police department was, to serve as a business incubator to one or more critical startup entities that we might be able to grow internally and keep them in Lawrence as they grow out of that space. So that's a new initiative I don't think I've shared with you that we're starting to look at. Another thing that I'm really starting to take serious now that you've all helped me get some of these miscellaneous properties and all, I'm starting to focus on the bigger picture goals, and one of them is the Trades District. We've all talked about the Trades District. I assume, Melissa, you know what I mean by the Trades District, but you're the newest member. The Trades District is really an area we define as Franklin Road, west of 465 along Pendleton Pike, and north to the railroad track at 46th Street. That's an area that's been envisioned to be, and largely has become to a certain degree, an area that's supported primarily for the construction trade industries, for businesses and organizations associated with that industry. There is work done, visioning work done maybe 6 or 7 years ago where an engineering firm drew a potential boulevard down Record Street and realignment of Record Street. I'm starting to look at how do we get serious with that initiative, what kind of relocations would have to occur of residences, what do we have to do to be able to fund it long term. That's a project that will probably transcend any of us on this. That's a 15 to 20, 30-year development project. But if you all looked at what Carmel was prior to Mayor Brainerd 20-some years ago and what it is today, that vision's become a reality. I think that as a community and RDC, we have to start having those big, bold visions and trying to figure out what do we really want to do when we grow up. And so I'm starting to focus on the Trades District in that manner, and you'll hear more about that in the coming months. And I guess finally, the last things I have for you is Ashley has prepared for me a resolution number 11 to go in front of the Common Council on Monday evening for their formal approval to approve 4711 German Church Road and 4411, 4421, 4429 Franklin properties for sale. 4711 German Church Road, I have put a minimum offering price on that, for your knowledge, of $90,000. And will also be a clawback that we'll have an option to purchase that property back at 60% of the purchase price if it's not fully developed or development hasn't at least started to occur with permitting in place within 24 months of the purchase. I don't think it's our interest to sell that to a speculative landowner that doesn't get the property on the tax rolls and development occur and be at the same place we are now 2 years from now. So I want to incentivize it gets fully developed. So, Mr. President, I believe that's my report. I would take any questions that anybody would have.
No questions. Good report.
That's a good report. Commissioners, do we have any questions, comments?
Are you busy enough, Dan?
Could you review
Everything's good.
again, Dan, the status of the Starbucks on 56th Street.
I'm sorry, would you repeat your question, Cheryl?
Parcel J.
The Starbucks that you mentioned.
Yeah, geez.
What about it?
What is the status of that?
The design and site layout is being reviewed. I believe this is the case. And negotiations for the sale of the property are actually going on between the developer, which is Veritas Sondi, and the FHRA at this point in time. I think that should be concluded in the next 30 to 60 days. I would expect construction to begin in the spring of 2021.
So the reuse authority is the one who approves the
That's
sale
correct.
or the process going forward?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There has been, just FYI, there's been some discussion among the neighborhood here, just because there's a small business coffee shop, Porter's Books and Bread, on Lawton Loop East. And the concern is whether the approval of the Starbucks is going to put them out of business.
Okay. Good to know. But the FHRA is the controlling entity, to answer your question.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The FHRA is the controlling entity at this point, to answer your question. Anything else? All right. I think with that, unless you have something else, Mr. President, you can call for adjournment.
I was going to ask, is there any other business to come before the commission today? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
So moved.
There you go. Cheryl?
All right, we had a motion there by Mr. Clifford. I'll take that as a second from
That would be great.
Cheryl Sullivan. We'll do a roll call vote to adjourn here. Mr. Blunt,
Approved.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan,
Approved.
Ray Rohana,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
and Mr. Freegee. There we go. He gave us a thumbs up.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.